We'll wait here till like 9 a.m. A couple of people to join, and then I'll introduce you.
Okay, that sounds great.
Thanks, Laura.
Mhm.
Okay, let's get started. It's 9 a.m. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for coming back and joining us again here for another online free marketing webinar. I'm MJ, and I'm part of the La Plata County Economic Recovery Task Force, which is a group of small businesses and economic development community here in Southwest Colorado that have partnered together during the current health crisis to help businesses react, respond, and recover. So I recognize a lot of the names and attendees on this, so I'm not going to go through the full spiel again, but please join us here every morning, Monday through Friday from 9 to 9:30 or 10 for the free marketing classes that are taught by our local professional business community. Really huge thanks out to all the presenters who have donated their time and knowledge to get this series off the ground. So like all of the presentations, just listen for the first part, and then we're going to host a Q&A at the end. There's a Q&A box at the bottom of your Zoom toolbar, and you can ask any questions that you have from the presentation, and we'll get to all of them or the most that we can. And if there's any other lingering questions, we can follow up via email afterwards. So for today, I'd like to introduce Laura Ritz, the Durango wordsmith, and she's going to talk about writing for your website. So Laura, I'll hand it over to you. Thank you so much for presenting today.
Great, thank you, MJ. Good morning, everyone. I am Laura Ritz. I am the Durango wordsmith, and I'm going to go ahead and share my computer screen and give you a little bit more information about me. So here we go. And share this. Okay, can everybody see it? Take that as a yes. Okay. All right, awesome. So as she mentioned, I am the Durango wordsmith. I'm a professional writer. I specialize in business communication. So I help businesses create all sorts of types of documents. I've got a list here at the end, but I do everything from writing website content to writing blogs. We do marketing collateral, so letters, pamphlets, that type of thing. I help with grants and proposals. I help with resumes and cover letters, and I've also done some ebooks and short stories, things like that. So I do a lot of writing and editing on the professional business side. It's a lot of fun. The making of a wordsmith. Here's just a quick snapshot at my background. I did have a business degree, my BS in Business Administration from the University of Colorado's Leeds School of Business. Sorry to everyone who went to CSU. Then after I graduated there, I worked in the nonprofit sector while I was in college and shortly thereafter for about 7 years. And then I graduated and decided it was time to do something else with my life, and I went into education. Got my master's degree in elementary education, and I worked as an educator for 11 years. I taught little ones all the way up to adults who were getting their GED. I also worked with some college students, so it was a lot of fun. Then about 3 years ago, I decided it was time for a shift again. Went back to school, got my graduate certificate in professional writing, and I launched my business. And I did spend a year working for a national nonprofit as their copywriter, and it's been absolutely fabulous. Now I just do the Durango wordsmith full time. I've continued to work on professional development and hone my skills. So I do have an SEO copywriting certification, so I can help write organic content that organically attracts, that works with SEO, with Google's algorithm. I'm also a certified professional resume writer, and I'm a member of the American Copy Editors Society and the Editorial Freelancers Association. So I'm constantly working on honing my skills. I just want to be the best that I can be. So today we're going to talk about how to write web content. We are not going to get into boosting your SEO, and this is just going to be a brief overview. I do teach these longer classes through the SBDC. We usually do them in a series. There's usually 2 hours for how to write web content that attracts customers, and another 2 hours for how to write web content that boosts your SEO. So if you are on their email list, be watching for those if you decide that you want more information than you're going to get today. Today's just going to be a brief snapshot, just kind of a quick overview of some tips and tricks that can help you if you're writing for a website. Okay, so today we'll kind of look at finding your brand's voice and learning about your customers. All right, so the first thing to remember is that a website is just a conversation that is started by your site visitor. This is from Ginny Reddish in Letting Go of the Words. Web writing is challenging because you're neither the brand nor the site visitor. Even if you are a sole proprietor like myself, you're the only one running your business, your brand is still going to have a personality slightly of its own. And of course, you're not the site visitor. So in order to write well for the website, for a website in general, we have to get in the head of the product or of the business, and then we also have to get in the head of the customer. Once we have an idea of what each of these different people are bringing to the table, we just write the words to help bring them together. So we spend a lot of time researching. Okay, now, again, today I'll be asking some questions. We will email this out at the end so you can see these questions later. The first question to answer is, what is your product or your service? Okay, it can be really easy sometimes to forget that this is the core. What is it that we are offering to people? And then answer this question. Is it a brand new product? This product was just came off the market. The patent is still pending on it, okay? Is it a common product or service? Something like bookkeeping, right? Or is it a common product or service with a unique twist? And in this case, I used an example of Tuft & Needle, where mattresses, they sell mattresses, and the concept of mattresses was not new. We've had them around for a very long time, but they came up with this new unique twist. Their idea was to sell them over the internet and ship them to people and see if people would actually buy a mattress over the internet. So it was a common product or service, in their case a product, that they then just added a unique twist to. So those are the first questions that you're going to want to answer. And as I mentioned, I will email these out so you can sit down and work through these. And in the workshop, we actually spend some time working through this in more detail. But today I'm just giving you an overview. It's really important to understand at the very base level what you're offering and how your product is a little bit unique, whether it's brand new or has a unique twist, or maybe it's just something common, but you're just really good at it. So that's a good place to start. The next thing we want to look at is this. At the most basic level, it's important to understand that most people buy for one of two reasons. They buy to move closer to pleasure or to move further away from pain. And this is from Cole Schaefer's The Psychology of Selling. So I'm going to tell you just a quick little story to help give you an example. We've got a gentleman, and we're going to give him a name. His name is Zane, and he's working for this big company in New York City. And he finds out that he got this promotion. He's had his eye on this promotion for a really long time, and he's super excited. He comes home, he tells his wife, and they buy the most expensive bottle of champagne they can to celebrate that evening, all right? The next morning they wake up, it's about time to go to work, and they both have really bad hangovers. So they have to run to the local store and buy some aspirin to help take care of their headaches, okay? This is an example of two different types of purchases. One purchase, the champagne, brought them closer to pleasure. The second purchase, the aspirin, took them further away from pain. So the next question you're going to want to answer is your product taking people further away from pain? If so, how? Or is your product moving people closer to pleasure? And if so, how is it doing that? Once we have that basic understanding, we can start to figure out how we're going to write about our product. Are we taking them further from pain? Do we need to highlight that? We're going to remove your worries. We're going to help you sleep better. Or are we taking them closer to pleasure? Have the vacation of your lifetime. Okay. The next question I usually have people do is write 10 benefits that the product provides. So answer, is your product closer to taking people further from pain or closer to pleasure? And then list 10 benefits. When we write about a product, we never want to say, I'm going to clean your carpets. We want to say, I'm going to give you a clean and healthy home. That's the benefit the product provides. How am I going to do that? by cleaning your carpet. So we really want to hone in on the benefit, and that's how we sell our product to people, is what are they going to get out of it? Because at the end of the day, people only care about what's in it for me, okay? So next, find your niche. Start to think about this. What is it that sets you apart? Okay, we start by answering that question by looking at our competitors. Remember that a competitor is anyone who is trying to convince people to spend their hard-earned money on their product or service instead of yours. And usually when I talk about this, I talk about some of the tourist companies, say in town. Okay, let's look at, say, a rafting company. A rafting company, of course, the other rafting companies are their competition, but so is the zip line, so is Purgatory Ski Resort, so is the escape room, right? These are all other businesses who are trying to get people to spend their money on their product or service instead of your product or service. So as you start to think about competitors, make sure that you broaden that scope a little bit. It can be really easy to get pigeonholed into people who are doing exactly what you're doing, and you miss out on the bigger picture, okay? From there, we ask these questions. How are you similar to other businesses in your field? Or how are you different from other businesses in your field? And usually I have people sit down and list out about 10 of these, of each. See if you can write 10 ways that you're similar to businesses in your field and 10 ways that you're different. You'd be amazed. Those first 5 usually come pretty easy. Those last 5 are usually a lot harder. And I always tell people, list it all, the good, the bad, and the ugly. How are you the same and how are you different? And this is really going to help you when you're writing. We've looked at our product. We've looked at the benefit that our product provides. And now we're talking about how we're similar and how we're different. So we're going to start to separate our brand as we talk about ourselves and as we talk about our product. And this is a really key question to be answering. The next part of this is to find your brand's voice. And this can be hard sometimes for people, okay? And the way I tell you to do this, I think this is the easiest way to find a brand's voice, is to answer some of these questions. If my brand were a person, what would they wear? What would they look like? How would they talk? What are their work priorities? What is their level of education? What books would they read? What movies would they watch? How would they spend their free time? What music do they enjoy? What would they do for fun? Okay, so once you start to create this persona for your brand, we're not talking about our customers yet, we're talking about our brand, okay? And I often use rafting again. I was a river guide for about 7 years, so it's close to my heart. But I help people see it this way. If your brand is a river guide, they're going to talk a certain way. They're probably going to tell a lot of stories. They're going to make the product larger than life. It's going to be a lot of fun. But that voice is going to sound very different if the brand is actually the owner of the rafting company. They're concerned about people having fun, but they might have a slightly more bent toward safety. They might be gearing toward larger groups of people. Their stories might be a little bit more brought down to earth, as opposed to river guides. We like to tell our stories really big, okay? So as you think about your brand, be thinking about, if your brand is a person, who is it? What is the voice that's going to be speaking through? And again, in my longer workshops, we go through a whole bunch of examples of this. So you can start to see who specifically, how your brand can really speak. If you go out to social media, check out Instagram, check out Facebook, start looking at some brands and see if you can figure out who the voice is that's speaking through those brands. Some brands do a fabulous job about being very clear about who they are and their voice, okay? So we've now talked about the product or the service. We talked about the voice of the company, and now we're gonna go talk about the customers. So learning about our customers. The way to learn about your customers is through research. I imagine if you're a smaller business owner, you probably have a lot more personal relationships with your customers. If you are a larger business owner, you may not have that, okay? So the larger businesses need to spend a lot more time doing the research. The smaller businesses, we need to get to know our customers better. The key with marketing is that we're never trying to bring people to us. We are always trying to go to them. So we need to figure out who they are, what their priorities are. And so you're going to see a very similar list of questions now. We're looking at the customers. Who are they? And I would answer these questions. How old are they? What is their gender? What is their level of income? Some of these are very similar to the other questions. What do they wear? What do they look like? How do they talk? What are their work priorities? Are they a workaholic, or do they work their 8 hours and call it a day? What is their level of education? What books do they read? What movies do they watch? How do they spend their free time? What music do they enjoy? What do they do for fun? What do they want from your business? That's the most important question. Once you figure out who your customers are, you need to find out what it is they want from your business, okay? And then it's of course up to you to then provide that for them. But as we start to get in their head, whether this is through talking to them directly, which is the best way to do this, we can start to figure out what questions they are asking. Remember that a website is a conversation that was started by your site visitor. They came to you for a reason. You need to figure out what questions they are asking, and you need to answer those questions on your website, okay? So I always tell people, list 10 questions your customers may be asking. These are great questions to ask a sales team, your technicians. You can also ask your customers directly. If you've got a sales team who's out in the field, you've got technicians who are out in the field, go ask them. Say, hey, what are the most common questions you get? You know, if you're talking to a customer, just say, hey, what do you want to know about my brand? These are great questions if you've got some loyal clients or loyal customers you have a good relationship with. You might be able to ask them some of these questions and try to understand why they came to you. All right. So these are just kind of the fundamentals here of how to write for your audience. Always remember that it's a conversation. You need to find your voice. You need to find what your customers are seeking. And then we need to talk about our product in a benefits-based way. You can answer the questions about, this is your homework, answer the questions about your brand's voice. I will email this out. Answer the questions about your customer. Determine 10 questions that your customers may be asking, and list 10 benefits that your product provides. If you can start, and then I didn't add this, but I will add it on the when I email this out. Also be sure to spend some time figuring out 10 ways you're similar and 10 ways you're different. If you can start to hone in on that, your website writing will be much more clear. Just a quick little synopsis, a little bit more about me. I can help with any step. I help people see their projects through the eyes of their customers. As I mentioned, I do way more than web writing, marketing collateral, resumes and cover letters, grants and proposals, books and ebooks, contracts and service agreements. I'll be sure to send out my contact information, but feel free to grab a screenshot here if you need to. I'm really easy to find. I'm thedurangowordsmith.com, Laura at thedurangowordsmith.com. There's my phone number. Call me anytime. If you would like to sign up for my newsletter, just chat me your email address. I'll be sure to add you so that you can find out what's going on. And of course, I'm all over social media, super easy to find there too. So that was a very, very quick snapshot to what's normally a 2-hour presentation. I'm gonna go ahead and go to Q&A, and I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Thanks, Laura. That was awesome. All right, guys, if you guys have any questions, put it down in the Q&A area.
There's gotta be some questions. I couldn't have done that good.
And you're going to put together kind of like a couple pages from that presentation, more around like the action items that they can do.
Absolutely. And we'll get that. I'll get that over to you here in just a little bit, and so that people can work on it from home. So that'll be great. We're going to be able to access the recording. That's an MJ question.
Yes, it is actually on YouTube live right now. So I'll send that link as well as those couple pages from the presentation, Laura, to everyone.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, let's see, I just got two. Okay, how do you write for more than one customer type on a website? Great question. So normally what we do is you would develop that persona. So those set of questions, I will email them out about your customer, right? When we're getting into our customer's head, you would answer those questions. You would develop a couple different personas. Okay, so we have an idea of each person who we're selling to. And I'm going to give you an example. So I was working with a client that sold a product to schools. Okay, and so we created a persona for school district administrators. Just in general, we answered all those questions for school district administrators because we realized that they may be purchasing the product. Then we answered all those questions again for a principal, because a principal who is just in charge of a school has different priorities than a district administrator who's in charge of an entire school district. Okay, so then we created that persona, is what it's called, where we answered all those questions. Who are they? What are their priorities? What do they want from me? Okay, and then we did a third one for teachers, because sometimes teachers were our entry point and they would take the product to the principal or to their district administrator. So we answered all of those questions for our teachers. So then I have three different people who I'm speaking to. And so then I would use different tactics. I might write a blog that is designed specifically for a school administrator, and I might write a different blog that's designed specifically for teachers. I might also have different tabs on my website that say for administrators, for principals, for teachers, and then I speak to each one of those audiences. On my homepage, just a little tidbit, I always write a homepage last after I've written the rest of the website. Then I just have to kind of find the best of all of those, find those commonalities, and that's what I use on the homepage or the main pages. But then I do definitely take time to differentiate and speak to each one of those audiences. So I hope that helps answer that question. Okay, next question. What advice do I have for a wholesaler who is marketing toward end consumers, but their business is related to retailers? Great question. I'm working on one of those right now. So a couple different things to think about. The retailer who you're selling to only cares about the product as much as they can resell it, right? So as you are speaking to this retailer, you do need to be able to talk about the benefits for the end consumer. So for example, on this product we did right now, we created this whole storyboard and this mock-up for selling to the end consumer. And then we take it and we show it to the retailer so that the retailer, or I'm sorry, to the retailer, so that the retailer can see the benefit to the end consumer. And if the retailer can see the benefit to the end consumer, they are more likely to buy it themselves. Okay, so I would tell you to work backwards, go create it for the end consumer, and then you can answer the specific questions that your retailer has in maybe a separate document. That's what we did. We ended up with like a 4-page document for each of the different stakeholders, but we had a storyboard that was designed specifically for the end user because all the stakeholders need to know how it's going to affect the end user, or else none of the stakeholders are going to get involved. So I hope that helps. Feel free to, again, with any of these questions, feel free to reach out to me and I'll be happy to hop on a chat with you. We can chat more specifically if that would be helpful, but hopefully that gives you some ideas. Any other questions? Just 3?
Laura, are you teaching any future webinars here with the Chamber or with SBDC or anything like that that people should know about?
Yeah, thanks for asking, MJ. I have been teaching nonstop lately. I did resume writing and LinkedIn profile writing, and I've had a lot of requests to run those again. So I will probably be running those again. I just taught Zooming 101 yesterday with the Chamber. And then in the next couple of weeks, I'm teaching how to use the Google Suite and how to use other tools to make remote working easier. This is stuff like Trello, Slack, HubSpot. And again, I've worked remotely for a while, so I'm just sharing some of that knowledge with people who are interested. And then I did just have a request to do just a professional writing. So that one will be coming up. It's not scheduled yet, but if you can get on my email list, I'll be sure to let you know. And then part 2 of our web writing series for SBDC will be coming up, I think, at the end of May. So again, I highly recommend just hop on my email list and you'll get all that info. So thanks so much, MJ. I just saw a couple more questions pop in. Do we have time?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, what platform do I prefer for building websites? Great question. This depends on you, your business, and your technical expertise. Okay, I built my very first website in Wix. It's very similar to Squarespace. It's extremely user friendly. If your goal is just to get a website up and running, I highly encourage you to use Wix or Squarespace because they're super simple. Anybody can have time to do it, or anybody can usually figure it out if you just have, some time to poke around and work on it. I did build my next website through WordPress. WordPress is a lot more robust. It's also a lot more technical. So if you are technically minded, WordPress is a great way to go. But if you are just trying to get something out there for your business, WordPress can be a little overwhelming. Like I said, I did not build my first site there. I built that one about 1.5 years later. So it does obviously have a lot more capabilities. You can do a lot more with it, but if you don't have a little bit of understanding of coding, you can get kind of stuck. So I always tell people that really depends on your background, your expertise, if you're doing this yourself or if you're paying someone else to do it. Again, feel free to reach out for me for specifics, but if you're doing it first time, I would probably just tell you to go with Squarespace, to be completely honest with you. I just got a question. Have I heard of Webflow? I have not. I'll be happy to check into it, but I don't know anything about it, to be honest with you. So good question. Any general tips for a historically analytical writer who needs to improve their blog writing technique? Edit, edit, edit. I was just talking to someone recently who loves to write, and we were talking about how, you write something, walk away from it for a week, come back to it, and you tear it to shreds with red ink, okay? You will be amazed when you just walk away from something to coming back to it, how it really, you see it through a whole different set of eyes. Now, if you're working specifically with blogs and web writing is really unique because you have to get in the head of your customer. This is not like writing a school report or writing a report for a boss, right? You're not just giving them the information. This is about getting in the head of your customer, and it's almost like writing backwards. I have coached a lot of people through blog writing who were expert writers, and they went to write their first blog and they're like, I'm stuck. This is totally different than what I'm used to. So a couple tips: use words like I, me, and you. Yes, I'm breaking the rules. I'm giving you permission. You can totally use that. Say, hey, when was the last time you da-da-da-da? Use those words because it will help you start to sound a lot more personal. Okay. Another tip: read it out loud. And get someone else to read it and figure out, hey, does this speak to you? There's a lot of other little tips we can use, things like bolding headlines, using headlines. You want to make it scannable. 75% of people will read or will scan something before they read it. So make sure you've got lots of bullets, make sure you've got bolded type. Of course, always left justified. Those are just kind of some of the fundamentals. But if you're working on your blog writing technique, I would just encourage you, make it personal, get other people to read it. Feel free to reach out if I can help you. I'll take a look at something, give you some feedback. But it is a backwards form of writing, and it does take some practice to get that figured out. So great question. Any more questions? I'm not seeing any more, MJ.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Laura. Really appreciate it. This was a really great class. And oh wait, I guess we have
one more. Okay, we have a website. They want to update their blog. What program should we create the blog in? It's currently in WordPress, needs to be updated, hasn't been used since 2015. Teresa, you're going to have to create that blog. You're going to have to create that blog in WordPress unless you're going to start with a whole new website. If you need help, there is a group called WordPress Work Along. It's a free meetup that meets once a month. I would highly recommend that you show up to that. It usually meets one Saturday morning a month. You can go to meetups.com and just look for WordPress Work Along. It meets at Durango Space, and there are people there who are experts. I go pretty much every month, and you can get some help to get it going. But if you're gonna add the blog to your website, it will have to be in WordPress unless you're gonna start all over from scratch. Then you could start over with like Squarespace or something like that. Again, feel free to reach out. We can chat. So thanks. All right. Cool. Okay, I think that's everyone now.
Okay, great. Well, yeah, awesome. Thanks everyone for joining. Tomorrow, come back. Nick Kogos from Visit Durango is going to be teaching why good content matters, which kind of plays off of this of quality of writing with quality of imagery and everything for your brand. So I think it's pretty relevant, but thank you, Laura. Really appreciate it. And everyone enjoy the day.
Awesome. Sounds good, everybody. Stay healthy out there.
Thanks. Bye.